At the very end of this week's parasha, at the end of Masei, we're reintroduced to Bnot Tzlophhad, the daughters of Tzlophhad, who we met in last week's parasha, Pinchas, and the daughters who love the land of Israel. They desire to be in the land of Israel. We had a whole story last week how they come to Moshe Rabbeinu pleading that they should have nachala, that they should have their own inheritance in the land of Israel. Interesting, in this week's parasha, we're reintroduced to them through their cousins who are making a similar plea to Moshe that they don't want to lose their land to the Bnot Tzlophhad marrying out of the tribe. So I heard a beautiful Dvar Torah from a Professor Rosenzweig who goes into the detail of how special these Bnot Tzlophhad actually were and what they taught the Jewish people. So here's the idea. In last week's parasha, once Moshe Rabbeinu was beginning to discuss about breaking up and dividing up the land of Israel amongst those who deserve an inheritance, so the pasuk there says that Tikravna Bnot Tzlophhad ben Chefer ben Ginal ben Machir ben Menashe Mishpachat Menashe ben Yosef, long lineage of who they are. But the Bnot Tzlophhad, Vatikravna, they come close to Moshe and they take them all the way back to Yosef. So the language of Vatikravna is a language which we find in a similar case with the Pesach Sheni, which I don't want to go into. We spoke about that in previous recordings, but it's a nice calm language. They're not it's not that they're coming on to Moshe al Moshe, but tikravda, they're coming cut off, and it's a certain sign of respect and with humility to make a request from Moshe Rabbeinu. And their request is, we know that they said that they know that their father died, but if since there's no sons, if they don't have any land, lama yigara shem avinu mitoch mishpachto, our father's name, why should it be lost? Why should we lose out on our achuzah in the land of Israel? And the Gemara calls them darshaniot, and it goes through a very deep discussion of yibum and how they make their case to Moshe Rabbeinu. Actually, I heard a beautiful idea that from the fact that the Gemara calls them darshaniot, and they're using kal v'chomers, and they're using real Talmudic logic, so we see a little bit of a proof from Chazal that it's a big deal for women to learn Torah and to understand Torah in deep levels, and it's a big push over here for limud Torah for the ladies. And we see that their limud was so good that Moshe Rabbeinu had to go to God and say, God, they're saying good, what do I do? Maybe they do deserve land. And what does Hashem respond to Moshe? You're right, they are correct, and they should get the nachala. In the Midrash on Parsha Pinchas, on last week's Parsha, so the Midrash actually also praises them with different language. It calls them chachamot, tzidkaniot. They were very righteous. We saw in the parasha that it gave their whole lineage all the way back to Yosef. And the rabbis teach us that why does it go all the way back to Yosef? Because Yosef, he loved the land of Israel. Yosef made everybody know that he was an Ivri and that he wanted to go back and make sure they bring their bones back. Yosef loved Eretz Yisrael. So too, Bnot Tzlophhad love Eretz Yisrael because they are the progeny of Yosef. So the idea I heard is that Yosef had two sons, Ephraim and Menashe. So if Yosef is supposed to symbolize loving the land of Israel and his desire to be in the land of Israel, so let's look at Yosef's two sons. So Ephraim and Menashe, even though Ephraim was the younger one, he has the larger role. Who comes from Ephraim? Yoshua. Yoshua is going to be the main guy to symbolize Ephraim in this generation in the desert. And we know Yoshua also loves the land of Israel, because when the 10 other spies are speaking out against the land of Israel, Yoshua says, no way, this land is great, tova me'od me'od. He loves the land of Israel. So we see that Ephraim, the children of Ephraim, love the land of Israel. Where do we see that the children of Menashe love the land of Israel? So Bnot Tzlophhad teach us that lesson. Their love of the land, when they're going to Moshe Rabbeinu, we want to have that nachala, that achuzah in the land of Israel. They are making that claim to Moshe, and from there we learn. And from there, and here's the idea that I heard from Professor Rosenzweig, from there we see that in our parasha, their cousins learned as well. Because if you look at the seventh aliyah in our parasha, Vayikrevu Rashei Ha'avot Lemishpachat Bnei Gilad ben Machir ben Menashe Mimishpachot Bnei Yosef, their cousins, the heads of the family of the Gilad, the son of Machir, that Yosef section, that Menashe section, Bnot Tzlophhad's cousins come up to Moshe Rabbeinu, and they have a complaint. Because the halacha is that a woman can marry whoever she wants. She can marry out of the tribe. So right now, Moshe, you just said they can take the land, they can take the nachala. But what if they marry into a different tribe? So we're going to lose our land. But we love the land. But where did they learn this love from? So if you look closely at the words of our parsha, so it says, Vayikrevu Rashei Ha'avot. Again, we have that language of coming close, coming up with humility. They're not coming on Moshe and yelling at Moshe. They're coming with respect and say, Moshe, what are we going to do? Vayidabru lifnei Moshe. It's in front of Moshe. They're not on Moshe. They're coming and they're asking. And if you go on, they say the exact same claim. Umigoral nahalatenu yigareya. We're going to lose out from our nachala. Again, it's the same language. Yigareya ve'ikrevu. You see that they learn from their cousins Bnot Tzlophhad, and they come to Moshe and they say, Moshe, we want this land too. We love it too. We understand the mission of Menashe, Ben Yosef. We love Eretz Yisrael, and they learned it from Bnot Tzlophhad. And the Midrash back in Pinchas says that they were tzadkaniyot because they listened to everything they were supposed to do, and they actually married into the tribe. Even though simple halacha says you can marry out of the tribe, they married into the tribe. They married their cousins, so they kept it part of the family, part of the mishpacha, and part of the ancestral homeland in Eretz Yisrael. One last idea. This ends off Parashat, the Sefer Bamidbar, and this ends off at the border to the land of Israel. God already is telling Moshe Rabbeinu, you're going to die right now. The Jewish people are going to be going in. They're on the border. The next Sefer we're going to start, Sefer Devarim, is Moshe's last days, last moments, giving over the Musar to the people, going over the main mitzvot so that they're going to be ready with the right emunah and the right excitement and the right connection to Hashem to go and conquer the land properly. But right now, basically, we end the story of the travels, and we're ending with the story of women who believe in the Geula, who believe in getting into the land of Israel. And it's interesting because when we start the story of this Exodus, we start the story of the travel to the land of Israel, we also start with women. Because once we left Egypt and we crossed that sea, who comes forward? Miriam comes forward with the timbrel. She's there with her instruments. She's dancing with the women. And there's a famous question on Miriam and those women. Where did they get those instruments from? And the answer they give is that they knew there would be a Geula. They knew they would be singing and dancing. They knew that Hashem would take care of them. And that's why the women brought out those instruments to dance. So at the start of leaving of Egypt, on the start of the process to the land of Israel, and now at the very end, when they're on the border of the land of Israel, we come back to the women and their great love for the land of Israel and how much we have to learn from them. Shabbat Shalom.